The phone slipped from Lena Hart's fingers and bounced once on the kitchen counter before clattering to the floor. Shit. Her heart was already racing before she bent to pick it up. The screen was still lit. The message had been sent, not failed, not pending, sent. She stared at the words again, as if they might rearrange themselves into something harmless. I'm ovulating today. If you're coming home late, just tell me. I don't want to get my hopes up again. Her breath caught, her stomach dropped. That wasn't for you, she whispered to the empty apartment. She swiped frantically, fingers trembling, searching for the contact name at the top of the screen. The letter stared back at her like a quiet accusation. K. Not Evan. Not her husband. K. Lena's chest tightened as she scrolled through the thread. There was barely anything there. 2 missed calls months ago, one short reply from Evan saying, "Save this number." Business. Business. She hit delete. The message disappeared from her phone. It didn't matter. A second later, the phone buzzed in her hand. Incoming message. She froze. Her pulse thundered so loudly she was sure the neighbors could hear it. Slowly, as if opening something dangerous, she lifted the phone. I believe this message wasn't meant for me. The simplicity of it made her feel worse. I'm so sorry, she typed immediately. That was a mistake, please ignore it. She hovered over send, then added, I'm embarrassed. I didn't mean to involve you. She sent it before she could overthink it. Silence followed. Lena leaned against the counter and squeezed her eyes shut. Her face burned. Her ears rang. Of all the people in the world, of all the mornings, of all the messages. Her apartment felt too quiet, too still. This wasn't how her day was supposed to start. She had woken up before dawn, like always. Evan's side of the bed had been cold. He hadn't come home again. She hadn't texted him, not until that moment of half-sleep honesty when hope slipped out before pride could stop it. She checked the time, 6:12 a.m. She had 30 minutes to get to work. The phone buzzed again. Her breath stuttered. You don't need to apologize, the reply read. I'll forget it. Lena exhaled shakily. Relief rushed through her so fast it almost made her dizzy. Thank you, she typed. Really? 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. On the other side of the city, Kang Min-jae sat back in his chair and stared at the screen, unreadable. Problem? One of his men asked quietly. Min-jae didn't answer right away. He turned the phone face down and folded his hands on the desk. The room around him was silent, thick with restraint. 4 men waited without shifting. No one spoke unless he invited it. Run the number, he said finally. The man nodded once and moved. Min-jae picked the phone back up. The message lingered in his mind, not because it was inappropriate, but because it was human, raw, unfiltered, something never meant for him. He typed, then paused. You should be more careful, he wrote, then deleted it. He settled on something safer. Take care. Back in her apartment, Lena read the words and felt something strange twist in her chest. Not fear, not attraction. Relief. She slid the phone into her bag and forced herself to move. Shower. Clothes. Coffee she didn't taste. The mirror reflected a woman who looked fine on the outside and hollow beneath. At the subway platform, her phone buzzed again. This time, the name Evan lit up the screen. She stared at it until it stopped ringing. In the train, pressed between strangers, Lena replayed the morning in her head. The message, the reply, the way the unknown man hadn't mocked her, hadn't asked questions, hadn't crossed a line. It shouldn't have mattered. It did. At the academy, her students greeted her with sleepy smiles and broken English. She taught reflexively, her body on autopilot while her mind drifted. When class ended, she checked her phone. No new messages. She told herself she was relieved. She was. That night, Evan didn't come home. Again. Lena sat on the couch with the lights off, her knees drawn to her chest. At 11, 7:47 p.m., she picked up her phone and stared at the screen. She didn't open Evan's chat. She opened the other one. Her thumb hovered. "This is ridiculous," she muttered. She locked the phone. It buzzed immediately. Unknown number. Her heart jumped. "I said I would forget it," the message read, but I didn't. Lena swallowed. "I'm sorry," she typed. "I didn't mean to make things awkward." "It wasn't awkward," he replied. "It was honest." She frowned. "You don't even know me." That's why it was honest. She stared at the screen, her chest tightening. Something in his words felt steady, unassuming, not invasive. "I'm married," she typed, the words heavier than they should have been. There was a pause this time. "Then I won't cross lines," he wrote, "but I won't pretend you didn't exist either." Her eyes burned. "Why are you being kind?" she asked before she could stop herself. Several seconds passed. "Because no one is kind to people by accident," he answered. Lena let out a shaky laugh and wiped her face. "If you're enjoying this story so far, don't forget to like the video. It really helps more people find it. And if you've ever had one message change everything, drop a comment. I'm reading them." She typed again. "My name is Lena." On the other side of the city, Min-jae read the message and felt something shift. Small, controlled, but real. "Min-jae," he replied. She stared at his name. "It's nice to meet you," she wrote. He hesitated, then typed back. "It might not be." Lena smiled despite herself. "Then we'll stop before it is." Min-jae leaned back, eyes dark. "We'll see," he replied. And at that moment, neither of them realized the line had already been crossed. Lena told herself she wouldn't message him again. She said it out loud the next morning while brushing her teeth. "You don't know him, you don't need him, you're married." The last word tasted bitter. Her phone buzzed on the sink. She froze. Unknown number. Min-jae. She didn't open it immediately. She rinsed her mouth, wiped her lips, stared at her reflection. Her eyes looked different, too alert for someone who barely slept. Finally, she unlocked the screen. "Did you sleep?" That was it, no pressure, no hidden meaning, just a question. She exhaled slowly and typed back, "A little, you." "Enough." She hesitated, then added, "You don't have to keep checking on me." 3 dots appeared. "I know," he replied. "I want to." Her chest tightened. She locked the phone and shoved it into her bag like it might burn her. At work, Lena was distracted again. She corrected pronunciation errors she normally would have laughed at. She missed a meeting. When her colleague nudged her and whispered, "You okay?" she forced a smile. "Just tired." But it wasn't tiredness, it was awareness. During lunch break, she finally checked her phone again. Min-jae hadn't texted. She felt stupid for noticing. That evening, Evan came home. Lena heard the door before she saw him. Keys. Shoes kicked off carelessly. The familiar scent of his cologne followed him into the living room like a ghost of something that used to matter. "You're home early," she said. Evan loosened his tie without looking at her. Meeting got canceled. She waited for an apology, an explanation, something. Nothing came. "Did you see my message yesterday?" she asked quietly. He frowned. "What message?" Her chest tightened. "I texted you yesterday morning." Evan scoffed. "I get a lot of messages, Lena, you know that." Something inside her snapped, not loudly, not dramatically, just a clean, painful break. "Do you still want to be married?" she asked. That got his attention. He looked at her then, really looked, like she was an inconvenience that had learned how to speak. "Why are we doing this now?" he said. "I'm exhausted." "So am I." He rubbed his face. "I provide, I don't cheat, I don't hit you. What more do you want?" Her breath shook. "I want to matter." Evan laughed under his breath. "You're being emotional." That was it. Lena stood up. Her legs trembled, but her voice didn't. "I want a divorce." Silence filled the room. Evan stared at her, stunned then annoyed. You're serious? Yes. He scoffed. This is because I missed a few nights. This is because you've been gone for years, she said. He shook his head. You won't survive on your own. She didn't reply. That night, Lena lay awake staring at the ceiling. Her phone rested on her chest. At 1:13 a.m., she unlocked it. I asked for a divorce, she typed. The reply came almost instantly. Are you safe? Yes. Are you sure? She swallowed. No, but I did it anyway. Several seconds passed. I respect that, Min-jae replied. That takes courage. Tears slipped down her temples into her hair. Why do you keep saying the right things? She asked. Because I'm not trying to own you, he answered. I'm just listening. Her heart thudded painfully. Do you ever feel lonely? She asked before she could stop herself. On the other side of the city, Min-jae stared at the message longer than necessary. His office was quiet, too quiet. The city lights below glittered like a lie, beautiful, distant, untouchable. Every day, he typed. That honesty startled her. What do you do? She asked. There it was, the question he'd avoided. I manage things, he replied. She frowned. That's vague. It has to be. Her pulse quickened. Are you in trouble? Not tonight. She hesitated, then typed, You don't scare me. Min-jae smiled faintly. You should be careful saying that, he replied. If you wanted to hurt me, you would have already, she said. A pause. You assume I'm that kind of man. Aren't you? She asked. He didn't answer right away. I've done things I wouldn't explain to someone like you, he finally wrote. Her fingers hovered. Someone like me, she asked. Good, he replied, uncomplicated. She laughed softly. You're wrong, I'm a mess. So am I, he said. If this story is pulling you in, take a second to like the video and subscribe. It helps more than you know, and it tells me to keep going. The days that followed blurred together. Messages exchanged in stolen moments. Late-night conversations that felt like confessions whispered in the dark. They didn't flirt, not overtly. But they noticed things. Min-jae noticed when her replies slowed. You're tired. Lena noticed when his messages came shorter. Bad day. Once she asked, Why did you save my number? He answered honestly, because you didn't pretend. The first time they spoke on the phone, neither of them planned it. Lena had called without thinking. He answered on the second ring. Hello, he said, his voice low, calm. Her breath caught. I didn't mean to. It's fine, he said. I'm listening. She closed her eyes. Hearing him felt more intimate than anything they'd written. You sound different, she said. So do you. They sat in silence, connected by breath and distance. Min-jae, she whispered. Yes. Promise me something. What? Don't disappear without saying goodbye. There was a pause. I don't make promises lightly, he said. I know. But I won't disappear, he added. She smiled through tears. Neither of them noticed the man standing outside Lena's building that night, phone pressed to his ear. Confirmed, he said quietly. She's talking to him. The line clicked. Good, a voice replied. Keep watching. Lena realized she was being watched on a Thursday night. It wasn't dramatic. No footsteps rushing toward her. No hand grabbing her arm. Just a quiet, crawling awareness that slid down her spine as she stepped out of the convenience store with a plastic bag in her hand. She stopped. The street looked normal. Cars passed. Neon signs flickered. 2 students laughed across the road. Then she saw him. A man leaning against a lamppost, pretending to scroll through his phone. Too still, too deliberate. When her eyes met his, he looked away a second too late. Her heart slammed. She started walking. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. Min-jae. She answered immediately. I think someone is following me. Where are you? His voice sharpened instantly, calm stripped away. Near my apartment. the corner store. "Don't hang up," he said. "Keep walking, don't look back again." Her breath came shallow. "You said you weren't dangerous." "I didn't say other people were." She crossed the street when the light turned green. The man crossed too. "Min-jae," she whispered. "He's still there." "I know," he said. "I see him." Her chest tightened. "What do you mean you see him?" "I told you I manage things," he replied evenly. "I didn't say I worked alone." A black car rolled to a slow stop ahead of her. The back door opened. "Get in," Min-jae said. "Now." Every instinct screamed at her not to, but the man behind her was closer now. Too close. She opened the door and slid inside. The car pulled away immediately. Her hands shook as she pressed them together. "You said you wouldn't cross lines." "I didn't," Min-jae said. "Someone else did." "Who was that man?" A brief silence. "He works for Baek Junseok," Min-jae said. "And your husband." Her stomach dropped. "Evan." "Yes." "No," she whispered. "He wouldn't." "He already has." The car stopped outside her building. The driver opened the door. "Go inside," Min-jae said. "Lock everything, I'll explain later." "Later?" Her voice cracked. "You think I can just go upstairs and pretend I'm fine?" "No," he said gently. "I think you're stronger than you realize." She hesitated. "Will you come?" "I can't," he said. "Not yet." That hurt more than she expected. She went inside anyway. That night, Lena didn't sleep. At 2:07 a.m., she opened Evan's laptop. She didn't know what she was looking for until she found it. Emails, transfers, names she didn't recognize. Baek Consortium. Her hands trembled as she scrolled. Her name appeared. Her address. Her work schedule. Her throat closed. She called Min-jae. "I found it," she said as soon as he answered. "I know," he replied. "You knew," her voice cracked. "I suspected," he said quietly. "I didn't want to be right." "I'm not safe," she whispered. "No," he agreed, "but you will be." "How can you be so sure?" "Because now," he said, "this is my problem." She pressed her forehead to the floor. "I never asked you to protect me." "I know," he said. "That's why I am." If this moment just tightened your chest, pause for 1 second and like the video. It tells me you're feeling it too, and it helps this story reach more people who need it. The next day, Evan came home furious. "Why were you on my laptop?" he snapped. Lena stood by the window. "Why was my name in your files?" He froze. "You were selling information," she said, "about me." "You don't understand how this works," he said. "I understand enough," she replied. "You put me in danger." "You're overreacting," he scoffed. "No one's going to hurt you." "They already tried." His eyes darkened. "Who told you that?" "You did," she said. "Every time you chose money over me." "You think you matter that much?" he sneered. "Yes," she said quietly, "because I matter to someone." "You're seeing him," Evan said. "I'm choosing myself," she replied. She packed one bag and walked out. Min-jae waited across the street. She stopped when she saw him in person for the first time. He looked calm, grounded, dangerous only in the way certainty is dangerous. "You came," she said. "I said I wouldn't disappear." "What happens now?" "Now you choose," he said. She swallowed. "If I stay, I don't get to be ignorant anymore." "No," he said honestly. She nodded. "Then I stay." If you're still watching, subscribe now, because from here on the story doesn't slow down. It escalates. As they drove away, Lena didn't look back. Across the city, Baek Junseok smiled. "Good," he said. "Let him fall in love." Lena didn't ask where they were going. The city blurred past the window, neon streaks cutting through the dark. Her hands rested in her lap, clenched so tightly her knuckles ached. Min-jae sat beside her, close enough that she could feel the steady heat of him, far enough that he wasn't claiming space that wasn't offered. "Are we safe?" she asked finally. For tonight, he replied. Yes. She let out a breath she didn't realize she'd been holding. That doesn't sound permanent. It isn't, he said calmly. Not yet. The car slowed and turned into a quiet residential area. A gated house appeared, modest from the outside, nothing like what she'd imagined when she thought of men like him. This is yours, she asked. One of mine, he corrected. Inside, the air was warm and quiet. No chaos. No weapons lying around. Just clean lines, soft lighting, and a sense of control that settled her nerves in spite of herself. You can take the guest room, Min-jae said. There's a lock, security's active. She nodded. Thank you. He paused, watching her. You don't owe me gratitude for keeping you alive. Her throat tightened. I know I'm still saying it. That night, Lena lay awake staring at the ceiling. The unfamiliar room felt safer than her own apartment ever had. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Her heart skipped until she saw the name. Min-jae. You locked the door. Yes. Good, try to sleep. She hesitated. Are you? A pause. Eventually. She smiled faintly and set the phone down. Downstairs, Min-jae stood at the window, phone in hand, eyes scanning the street. His men moved silently outside, shadows blending into shadows. She's inside, one of them reported. I know, Min-jae said. She's trouble, the man added carefully. Min-jae didn't look away from the window. So am I. The next morning, Lena woke to the smell of coffee. She followed it downstairs, barefoot, hair loose, still wrapped in the borrowed t-shirt she'd slept in. Min-jae stood in the kitchen. Sleeves rolled up, pouring coffee into 2 mugs. You cook, she asked. Only simple things, he replied. Sit. She did. For a moment, they existed in a quiet that felt intimate without being intrusive. Your husband is panicking, Min-jae said, handing her the mug. She flinched at the word. He's not my husband anymore. He nodded. He tried calling you 5 times. She swallowed. What does he want? To control the narrative, Min-jae said, and to know how much you know. And how much do I know? She asked. Enough to be dangerous, he replied. Her fingers tightened around the mug. I don't want to be used. You won't be, he said, not by me. She met his gaze. And by your enemies. His jaw tightened. That's what we're preventing. Later that day, Lena went to work for the last time. She packed her desk quietly, ignoring the curious glances. When her supervisor pulled her aside and said, You've been distracted, Lena didn't argue. I need time, she said simply. Outside the building, her phone buzzed. Evan. She didn't answer. Instead, she blocked the number. That night, Min-jae came home late. Lena was curled up on the couch, scrolling mindlessly. You should sleep, he said. So should you. He smiled faintly. I will. She hesitated, then asked, Why are you doing this? He paused. Because you didn't ask for this world, it found you. That's not an answer. He looked at her then, really looked. Because when I read your message, you sounded like someone who had been ignored for too long. Her chest tightened. That doesn't make sense. It does to me. Silence settled between them, heavy but not uncomfortable. Min-jae, she said softly. Yes. If I stay, I don't want lies. He nodded. Then don't ask questions you're not ready for. She accepted that. The escalation came faster than either of them expected. 2 nights later, a gunshot shattered the quiet. Lena sat upright in bed, heart racing. The door opened immediately. Min-jae was there, eyes sharp. Stay here, he said. What's happening? Nothing you need to see. Another shot rang out. No, she said, standing. I'm tired of not seeing. He hesitated, then nodded once. Then stay behind me. Outside, chaos was contained but real. 2 men lay restrained on the ground. Blood stained the pavement. They were testing the perimeter, Min-jae said. Beak's men. Lena's stomach churned. Because of me. Because of me, he corrected. You're just leverage. She swallowed hard. I don't want to be leverage. Then don't break, he said. They're watching for fear. She squared her shoulders. If you're still watching right now, this is a good moment to pause and subscribe. The story's climbing, and you won't want to miss what comes next. The following days were tense. Lena learned routines, safe routes, codes, not out of fear but awareness. Min-jae taught her how to notice exits, how to trust her instincts without letting panic rule. You're not weak, he told her. You're untrained. She smiled bitterly, comforting. I mean it, he said. Fear doesn't make you small, avoidance does. One evening, after a particularly long day, Lena found Min-jae sitting alone, shoulders slumped slightly, phone dark in his hand. You okay? She asked. He looked up, surprised. I should be asking you that. She sat beside him. I am, mostly. He exhaled. Good. She studied his face. You carry a lot. He scoffed quietly. It comes with power. And loneliness. He didn't answer. She reached out, hesitating, then placed her hand over his. He stiffened for half a second, then relaxed. I don't see you as a monster, she said. That's dangerous, he replied. Maybe, she said, but it's true. Their eyes met. Something shifted, slow, deliberate, inevitable. He didn't kiss her. Instead, he said, when this is over, you can still walk away. She shook her head. I already chose. Outside, across the city, Beak Junseok watched the feeds with interest. Good, he murmured. She's staying. He smiled. Now we see how much he's willing to lose. If this story has you hooked, hit like right now. It helps push it to more people who love intense, emotional stories like this. The next morning, Lena woke to the hum of the city outside, though here it felt distant, almost unreal. Min-jae was already awake, standing by the window, arms crossed, gaze sharp. She watched him quietly, noticing for the first time the tension that never fully left him. You're quiet, he said without turning. I'm processing, she admitted. All of this, it's too much sometimes. He finally looked at her, eyes softer than usual. It's supposed to be. It's not supposed to be easy. She set her mug down. And if I fail? You won't, he said simply. Not while I'm here. Her chest tightened. I didn't ask for this world, Min-jae. I know, and yet here you are. The day passed with a mix of mundane routines and underlying tension. Lena practiced basic safety drills while Min-jae's men observed from the shadows. She hated the vigilance, hated the fear, yet a strange confidence began to settle within her. During lunch, they sat across from each other at a small table in the apartment kitchen. She poked at her salad, not hungry. Why me? She asked suddenly. Out of everyone, why protect me? Min-jae looked down at his coffee. Because I know what it's like to be ignored, to be overlooked. You didn't ask for attention, yet you deserved it. Her fingers trembled slightly. I don't understand why you care. I told you once, he said, meeting her gaze. I don't cross lines, I protect. The words wrapped around her chest like a promise. Hours later, they were both in the living room when the phone rang. Unknown number flashing across the screen. Lena froze. Don't pick it up, Min-jae said immediately. I have to know, she whispered. He shook his head. Trust me. She hesitated, thumb hovering, then set the phone down. Minutes later, another message. We see her. She is still alive, but she should not be. Her stomach dropped. Min-jae's jaw tightened. Beak is escalating. Lena felt panic rise, but she forced it down. What do we do? We prepare, he said. We anticipate. Fear will not control you. Knowledge will. She nodded, swallowing her trembling pride. I'm ready. That night, they checked the apartment's perimeter together. Min-jae demonstrated escape routes, exits, weak points in walls and locks. Lena followed instructions meticulously, adrenaline heightening her senses. This is insane, she whispered. You're not insane, he corrected. You're cautious, and cautious keeps you alive. Later, as they stood by the window, Lena couldn't help asking, do you ever doubt yourself? Every day, he admitted. But doubt doesn't stop me, only inaction does. Her lips pressed together. I wish I could be like that. You can, he said quietly, if you stop seeing fear as weakness. They were silent for a moment, and in that silence, something shifted, unspoken understanding, a shared acknowledgement that their connection was no longer just circumstance, no longer just survival. Days passed, tension mounting. Small things changed, the way Lena noticed Min-jae's glances linger, the way he gave her space yet maintained vigilance. Their conversations deepened. One evening, she asked, do you think I could ever go back to the life I had? He shook his head. That life doesn't exist anymore, and you're stronger now. You won't go back to someone who would put you in danger for money. Her throat tightened. I don't even know who I am anymore. You'll figure it out, he said, but don't do it alone, let me help. Minutes later, her phone buzzed, another unknown number. Lena glanced at it, then back at Min-jae. He gave a subtle nod. She typed carefully, we're ready. A pause, then the reply, good, tonight changes everything. Her heart thudded violently. Min-jae glanced at her. Stay calm, tonight we end this. Lena swallowed and nodded, forcing herself to breathe. She wanted to run. She wanted to hide. But she also wanted to fight. Hours later, they were outside, under the cover of darkness, approaching the location Beek's men had chosen to test their reach. Min-jae's presence was a quiet anchor. He leaned close and whispered, trust me, don't hesitate. She nodded. Shadows shifted, figures moved, Lena's pulse raced. A man stepped into view, masked, gun drawn. Min-jae moved like lightning, disarming the man before Lena could even react. You okay? He asked, pressing a hand briefly to her shoulder. She nodded, too stunned to speak. Good, he said, because we're just getting started. If you're hooked at this point, hit that like button, subscribe, and comment below. I want to know who's feeling Lena's tension right now. This is where the story truly escalates. By the time they returned home, Lena's chest ached with adrenaline and fear. But she also felt alive, more alive than she had in years. Min-jae watched her quietly as she paced. You did well tonight, he said finally. Did I? She asked, voice shaky. Yes, he said. You followed instructions, you stayed calm, you survived. She leaned against the wall. I don't know if I can keep doing this. You can, he said softly, because you have to, and because you're not alone. The night stretched on. Outside, the city carried on, unaware of the storm Lena and Min-jae had survived together. Inside, a fragile trust had cemented, an unspoken bond forming under the pressure of fear and adrenaline. And somewhere, Beek Junseok's agents were watching, taking notes, planning. He didn't know that the person he underestimated the most was already learning how to fight back, and with Min-jae by her side, nothing would be easy for him. The following morning, Lena woke to Min-jae already gone. She rubbed her eyes, trying to shake the tension from her body, but the adrenaline lingered. On the table, a note in his handwriting, training, be ready. Her phone buzzed, unknown number, we know you are awake. Her heart skipped. She almost dropped the phone, but Min-jae's voice came in over the line before she could panic. Ignore it, he said, calm and commanding. It's a test, nothing more. She pressed her lips together. A test? Yes, they want to see how alert you are. That doesn't mean you fail. Minutes later, a car pulled up outside the safe house. Lena followed Min-jae's instructions. Stay inside, watch quietly. Shadows shifted in the headlights, 4 men moving fast, methodical. They're professionals, Min-jae said quietly from the other side of the window. Notice their rhythm. Her pulse thumped as she observed them. She noted every step, every movement, every pause. Min-jae's words repeated in her mind, awareness keeps you alive. The men circled the house, testing doors, checking windows. Lena's hands shook, but she didn't breathe too loudly. She didn't look away. She learned to move only when necessary, silent, precise. "They're leaving," Min-jae said after tense minutes. "Good, they'll report back." She exhaled, relief and fear tangled in her chest. "That was," she started. "Training," he said, eyes dark. "Reality isn't much different." She bit her lip. "This is insane. I don't know if I can do this every day." "You can," he said softly. "Because every day you survive, you get stronger. And if you survive with me, you'll never be weak again." Lena swallowed, nodding. She realized she believed him. Hours later, she sat at the table, coffee in hand, phone buzzing again. Another message from Min-jae. "You did well today. Proud of you." Her chest tightened. "He's proud of me," she thought. She typed quickly, "Thanks. I don't know how I'm doing this." "You're doing it because you're alive. And you want to stay alive." Her fingers froze. That was it. That was exactly it. At night, Min-jae returned. He didn't knock. He didn't announce himself. He simply appeared in the doorway, watching her with eyes that missed nothing. "You're awake," she said, heart racing. "I never sleep before making sure you're okay," he replied. Her cheeks flushed. "You don't have to do that." "I want to," he said simply. They didn't speak for a moment. The tension between them was thicker than the walls of the house. Then Lena spoke, voice barely a whisper. "Why do you care so much?" "Because someone had to," he said, "and I can't let them hurt you." She swallowed, emotions churning. "You're different from anyone I've ever met." "Different isn't always better," he said, "but it's necessary right now." A sudden noise outside, metal scraping. Lena jumped. Min-jae's reaction was instantaneous. In a flash, he moved to the window, checking, assessing, always aware. "They're close," he said, voice low. "Beek's men are getting bold." Her hands shook. "I can't keep doing this. I'm not strong enough." "You are," he said, steady, unwavering. "You just don't know it yet." Hours passed. Lena practiced drills, memorized layouts, learned routes. Every step, every instruction, every glance was survival. By the next day, she could feel herself changing. Fear still existed, but it was sharper, cleaner, focused, less paralyzing. Min-jae watched her silently. He didn't offer praise, didn't lecture. He simply observed, noting how she adapted, how she learned, how she survived. Late that evening, they sat on the rooftop, city lights stretching out beneath them. "You're different now," he said quietly. "I feel different," she admitted. "That's good," he said. "Change isn't easy, but it saves lives." She didn't answer immediately. Her eyes were on the horizon, lights dancing across the buildings. Then she spoke. "Do you ever think about what comes after all this?" "I do," he said. "But not now, not until we survive tonight." Her chest tightened. "I don't even know what surviving tonight means." "You will," he said, "because you'll do what you have to do." Minutes later, her phone buzzed again. "Unknown number, we're moving closer." Her stomach dropped. She didn't need Min-jae to explain. She knew. He took her hand, steadying her. "We fight smart," he whispered, "and together we win." Lena nodded. Fear still coiled in her stomach, but she also felt something else, determination, something she hadn't felt in years. The night came alive with tension. Every sound, every shadow, every flicker of light carried meaning. Lena moved carefully, watching, alert. She was learning, surviving, becoming. Min-jae's hand brushed hers. She didn't pull away. "I don't want you to get hurt," he whispered. "You're already here," she said, heart racing. He didn't answer, not needed. Outside, the city hummed, unaware of the storm descending, unaware that two people had already begun their fight, together. If you're still with Lena and Min-jae, make sure you hit like, comment, and subscribe. It keeps this story alive and lets me continue delivering the next twists and turns right to you. The night was quiet until it was. A sudden crash of metal echoed from the street below, and Lena's heart jumped into her throat. Min-jae was instantly at the window, scanning the darkness. "Beek's men," he muttered, voice low, dangerous. "They're testing patience." She held her breath. "What do we do?" "Watch, learn, react." The figures moved with precision, shadows shifting along the pavement. Lena's fingers trembled as she held her stance beside him. Her instincts screamed, but she stayed still. Min-jae's hand brushed hers, not a touch for comfort, but a subtle anchor, a reminder that she wasn't alone. "They're splitting up," he said quietly. "Two at the front, two at the back. Timing is everything." Minutes stretched. Lena's chest ached. The fear was raw, almost unbearable, but she focused. Every detail mattered. Suddenly, a figure lunged toward the side entrance. Lena's heart froze. Min-jae reacted immediately, intercepting the intruder with fluid, precise movements. He subdued the man silently, dragging him out of view. "You okay?" he asked, voice calm, though his eyes betrayed a flash of concern. Yes," she whispered, voice shaking. He nodded. "Good, you stayed calm, that's what counts." Her heart was still racing. "I don't know if I can do this every night." "You can," he said, "because each time you do, you grow, you survive, you become stronger." A sudden buzz on her phone drew her attention. Unknown number. Next test. Ready. She swallowed hard. Min-jae's hand tightened over hers. "Are you ready?" She nodded. "I have to be." They moved together, shadows among shadows, watching, learning. Lena began to anticipate movements, noticing patterns she hadn't before. She realized that the fear that had once paralyzed her was now sharpening her senses. Min-jae's voice was steady beside her. "Good, that's it. Observe, react, survive." One of the men made a sudden move. Lena ducked instinctively, heart hammering. Min-jae's hand was on her shoulder instantly, guiding, correcting. "Breathe. Focus." Minutes passed like hours. Finally, the test ended. The men retreated. Lena exhaled, trembling. "I did it." "Yes," Min-jae said softly. "You did, and tomorrow you'll do better." Her chest heaved, adrenaline and relief coursing through her. For the first time in years, she felt alive in a way she hadn't thought possible. Later, they sat together on the rooftop, city lights flickering below. Silence stretched between them, comfortable and charged at the same time. "You've changed," Min-jae said quietly. "I feel like I have," she admitted. "That's good," he said. "Change isn't always easy, but it's necessary." She glanced at him, noticing the way his jaw tightened when he was deep in thought, the way his eyes softened when he looked at her. She realized she was beginning to understand him in a way no one else could. A sudden vibration on her phone broke the moment. Unknown number. Tonight. Final test. Her stomach dropped. Min-jae's hand found hers. "Ready." She nodded, heart racing. "As ready as I'll ever be." They moved into position. Every movement was calculated, every step deliberate. Lena felt fear, yes, but also a growing confidence, a trust in herself and in him. The first wave of Beek's men approached, shadows blending into shadows. Lena's pulse pounded in her ears, but she stayed focused. Min-jae whispered instructions, and she followed without hesitation. Together, they moved as one, anticipating, reacting, surviving. Minutes later, it was over. The men retreated, unsuccessful. Lena leaned against the wall, chest heaving. "You were incredible," Min-jae said softly. "I thank you," she whispered. "You don't need thanks," he replied. "You need to believe in yourself." For the first time, Lena did. If you're hooked and want to see how Lena and Min-jae take on the next challenge, hit like, subscribe, and comment below. Every click helps keep the story alive. Later that night, Lena lay awake, adrenaline fatting, reflection taking its place. She realized how much she had changed in such a short time. She was no longer the scared, uncertain woman who had sent that first mistaken text. She was a fighter, a survivor. Min-jae sat across the room, watching her quietly. He didn't speak, he didn't need to. His presence alone was enough to anchor her. "Do you ever think about what comes after all this?" she asked softly. "Sometimes," he admitted. "But not now, not until we survive everything that's coming." Lena nodded, understanding. Fear would always be part of her life now, but so would strength, awareness, and him. And somewhere across the city, Beek Junseok's men were regrouping, preparing for the next move, unaware that Lena was no longer an easy target, and that the person they underestimated the most was already learning how to fight back. The next morning, the quiet of the safe house was almost deceptive. Lena moved through the apartment with a strange mixture of calm and tension, muscles still sore from the night before. Min-jae had already left before sunrise, leaving a note. "Breakfast is ready. Training at 8. Be sharp." She rubbed her temples and forced herself to eat. Coffee burned her throat, but she needed the caffeine and the focus. Today felt different. Something in the air was heavier, thicker. At 8 a.m., Min-jae returned. No words were exchanged. He simply led her to the rooftop, where the city stretched beneath them like a glittering labyrinth of danger and opportunity. "Today we escalate," he said, voice low and controlled. "You'll see why preparation matters." Lena's heart skipped. Escalate. Every test so far has been preparation. Today is the real thing. Beek's men aren't just testing us anymore. They want to see limits. Her stomach dropped, but she squared her shoulders. "I'm ready." Min-jae studied her for a long moment, then nodded. "Good. Follow instructions. Don't hesitate. Trust instincts. Trust me." Hours passed as they moved silently through the city. Lena's senses were hyperaware. Every sound, every shadow, every distant footstep became a signal. When the first wave of men appeared, Lena froze for only a second. Then she moved, guided by instinct and training. Min-jae covered her, neutralizing threats swiftly and silently. "Focus," he whispered. "Predict movements, don't react, anticipate." Her pulse raced, but she began to anticipate. She ducked, rolled, and moved with a precision she didn't know she possessed. A gunshot rang out suddenly, too close. Lena's chest tightened. She dove behind cover instinctively. Min-jae was immediately at her side, scanning the area. "You okay?" he asked, voice tight but controlled. "Yes," she said, though her voice shook. "Good, keep moving," he instructed. Minutes felt like hours. Lena's training kicked in. She watched, learned, adapted. Each movement, each decision was sharper than the last. Fear was still there, but it no longer controlled her. When the confrontation ended, they were both breathing hard, adrenaline still coursing. Lena looked at Min-jae, awe and relief mixing with a growing something else, something she didn't have words for yet. You were incredible," he said softly, studying her. I did what you told me," she whispered. "You did more than that," he said. "You adapted, you survived, you changed." Her chest tightened. "I still feel scared." "That's good," he said. "Fear keeps you alive. Awareness turns fear into strength." Later that evening, they returned to the safe house. Lena's phone buzzed. Unknown number. She glanced at Min-jae. He nodded, silently giving her permission to read it. "Impressive, but the real game begins now." Her stomach dropped. Min-jae took the phone from her hand. "They're acknowledging your capability. That means they're moving faster, hitting harder." Lena swallowed. "And we just wait." "No," he said firmly. "We strike first. Tomorrow we go on the offensive." The next day was spent planning, mapping, strategizing. Lena learned routes, surveillance patterns, entry points. Every detail mattered. Every decision could mean life or death. By evening, they were ready. They approached Beek's compound with quiet confidence. Lena's pulse raced, but she felt steadier than before. She knew she could react, anticipate, survive. Min-jae leaned close. "Remember everything. Trust instincts. Trust me. No hesitation." They moved like shadows, silent, precise. Lena's heart pounded in rhythm with her movements. Inside, chaos erupted. Beek's men were prepared, but not prepared for what Lena and Min-jae could do together. Every movement was calculated, every reaction seamless. One man lunged at Lena. She sidestepped instinctively, tripping him into the wall. Min-jae intercepted another, disarming with precision. Her chest heaved with adrenaline. She was aware of every breath, every heartbeat, every shadow. Fear was present, but so was power. By the time the confrontation ended, Beek's men were restrained. Lena's body shook, but she smiled through the exhaustion. "You did this," Min-jae said quietly, looking at her with intensity she couldn't read. "We did this," she corrected, voice breathless. He nodded, a rare, soft smile touching his lips. "Together, always together." Her phone buzzed again. "Unknown number. You've proven yourselves, but this is far from over." Lena glanced at Min-jae. "Far from over." He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he pressed a reassuring hand to her shoulder. "We'll handle it, together." Her chest tightened, not from fear but from something else. Relief, trust, connection. She realized how much she relied on him. And somewhere, across the city, Baek Junseok was watching, unaware that his plans were unraveling faster than he imagined, and that the woman he underestimated the most was becoming his greatest threat. If you're still watching, make sure you hit like, comment, and subscribe now. The story is just heating up, and you won't want to miss what happens next. The morning after the raid, Lena woke with a mix of exhaustion and exhilaration. Her muscles ached, her chest still throbbed from adrenaline, but a strange sense of empowerment coursed through her veins. She moved quietly around the safe house, careful not to wake Min-jae, though the thought of facing him was strangely comforting. He appeared in the doorway without knocking, as if he knew exactly when she'd rise. "Morning," he said softly, voice low but carrying the weight of authority. "Morning," she replied, rubbing her eyes. I can't believe what we did last night." "You did it," he corrected, a faint intensity in his gaze. "We did it together." Her pulse quickened. "I was scared every second, but I survived." "That's the point," he said, stepping closer. "Fear isn't weakness, control is, and you're learning." She swallowed, heart pounding. "Am I ready for the next step?" He hesitated, then nodded. "Tonight we end this. Baek won't see us coming. And Lena, you'll be the reason they know they underestimated us." Her stomach tightened. "I don't know if I'm ready to face them, alone." "You won't be alone," he said firmly. "Not tonight, I promise." The day stretched, tense with preparation. Lena went over plans again and again, memorizing routes, exit points, weak spots. Min-jae watched silently, only intervening when necessary, letting her grow into the fighter she had become. By evening, they moved through the city like shadows. Lena's heart raced, but she no longer felt panic. Fear existed, yes, but it was sharp, manageable, and she had the skills to survive it. Outside Baek's compound, they paused. Min-jae leaned close. "Everything we've trained for, it starts now. Follow my lead, trust instincts, trust me." She nodded, gripping the edge of his jacket. Her pulse raced as they approached the building, every step measured, calculated. Inside, chaos erupted immediately. Baek's men were armed and ready, but Lena moved with precision, instinctively intercepting one attacker and throwing him off balance. Min-jae neutralized another with swift efficiency. "You're incredible," he muttered, watching her maneuver with focus and confidence. "I'm doing what you taught me," she said breathlessly. Minutes passed, each second stretching, twisting. Lena's body moved on instinct. Every sound, every shadow mattered. She anticipated attacks before they happened, reacted with precision. Baek's men fell back, unprepared for her skill, unprepared for their coordination. One man lunged at Min-jae. She intercepted him with a swift movement, sending him crashing into the wall. Min-jae's eyes met hers, and for the first time she saw something unspoken: pride, respect, trust. By the time the final attacker was subdued, Lena was trembling, chest heaving, but alive, victorious, powerful. Min-jae stepped closer, brushing a stray strand of hair from her face. "You did this," he said quietly, almost in awe. "Every bit of it." "No," she corrected, voice shaking. "We did this." He nodded, a rare, soft smile gracing his lips. "Together." Hours later, back at the safe house, Lena finally allowed herself to breathe. She collapsed onto the couch, body exhausted, mind racing. Min-jae sat beside her silently. She didn't move away. She realized she didn't want to. "You're different now," he said softly. "Stronger, sharper, unstoppable." "I don't feel unstoppable," she admitted. "I feel alive, terrified but alive." "That's what matters," he said. You've faced fear and turned it into power. That's the difference between surviving and being a victim. Her chest tightened. And what about after this, after Beak? Min-jae didn't answer immediately. Instead, he leaned close, pressing a reassuring hand to hers. Then we live, truly live, together. She swallowed, emotions twisting inside her. Fear, trust, admiration, something deeper, something she didn't yet have the words for. Somewhere across the city, Beak Junseok's men regrouped, furious. Their intelligence had underestimated Lena, underestimated Min-jae, underestimated the bond that had formed between them. And Beak himself. He would learn, soon enough, that the woman he dismissed as weak was the very force that would unravel his empire. If you're still watching, now's the time to hit like, comment, and subscribe. The story's reaching its peak, and you don't want to miss the conclusion, the final confrontation and the resolution of Lena and Min-jae's journey. Lena leaned back, eyes closing, exhaustion finally catching up. But beneath it, a sense of triumph pulsed through her veins. She had survived. She had grown. She had fought and won. Min-jae watched her quietly, a rare softness in his eyes. For the first time in years, he allowed himself a small, genuine smile. The storm had passed for now, but more importantly, they had survived it together. The night was still, but the tension hummed through the safe house like electricity. Lena sat by the window, knees drawn to her chest, listening to the faint pulse of the city below. Min-jae moved silently around the room, checking locks, scanning the perimeter, every movement precise, deliberate. "They're coming," he said quietly, voice carrying an edge of steel. Lena's chest tightened. "I'm ready," she whispered, though her voice betrayed the tremor inside. "You will be," he said, "because you are ready." Minutes stretched. The streets outside were quiet, deceptively so. Then, shadows emerged, Beak's men, 10 of them moving fast, coordinated, confident. Min-jae positioned himself in front of Lena. "Stay behind me. Watch, learn, react." She nodded, hands trembling, heart pounding, but she didn't hesitate. She had trained for this. Every lesson, every drill, every moment of fear had led to now. The first wave moved to the side entrance. Lena observed, nodding every shift, every pattern. She anticipated, reacted, moved with precision. One attacker lunged at Min-jae. She intercepted him instinctively, knocking him off balance. Min-jae neutralized another, fluid, lethal, controlled. "Focus," he whispered. "You've got this." She swallowed, adrenaline sharpening her senses. Every breath, every heartbeat, every shadow mattered. Fear was still there, but it no longer ruled her. Another man charged toward her. Lena sidestepped, pivoted, and tripped him into the wall. She felt the rush of power, the satisfaction of skill paired with survival. Minutes later, the final attacker fell, restrained, defeated. Lena's chest heaved, muscles screaming, but she had done it. They had done it, together. Min-jae approached her, eyes scanning her face. "You were incredible," he said softly. She began, voice shaky. "We did this together." He nodded, a rare smile touching his lips. Together, always together. The city outside was quiet again, but inside the storm had passed. For the first time, Lena felt a sense of calm, a clarity that had eluded her for months. Fear still existed, but it no longer controlled her. She had survived. She had grown. Min-jae reached out, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "And now," he said, voice low, "we move forward. Nothing can stop us if we stand together." She leaned into him, heart pounding, emotions raw and unfiltered. "Together," she echoed. Weeks later, life began to settle into a new rhythm. Beak Junseok's operations had been exposed and crippled. Lena and Min-jae emerged victorious, not unscathed, but unbroken. They married quietly, privately, surrounded only by those they trusted. Lena resumed her teaching, but this time she felt powerful, independent, unshakable. And Min-jae, he softened in ways only she could witness, revealing a depth of care and devotion that had always been there, buried beneath the ruthlessness of his empire. Their first child, a daughter, was born months later. Lena held her in her arms, tears streaming, while Min-jae pressed a gentle kiss to her forehead. "We did it," he whispered. "Yes," Lena replied, heartful. "We survived together." 2 years later, they lived in peace. Min-jae's empire had shifted toward legitimacy, away from shadows and danger. Lena taught children, shared stories, and laughed freely. They awaited the arrival of their second child, a boy, the promise of a future built on love, trust, and resilience. Lena often thought back to that accidental message, the one that had begun it all. Fate had intervened, yes, but it was their courage, their choices, and their unwavering trust in each other that had carried them through. And as they watched the sunset together, holding hands, she realized that the world could be dangerous, unpredictable, even cruel, but it was also full of possibility. Because when two people stand together, when they trust, protect, and love, no threat is too great, no fear insurmountable. And if you've stayed with Lena and Min-jae through every heart-pounding moment, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Share the journey, let others experience the thrill, the fear, and the love that transformed two ordinary lives into something extraordinary.